Pick up your gear and open your chests. Throw on your armor and head out on a quest. Hey, hey, it's a brand new day. On the Sword Coast, your allies will help with blades and bows and magic as well. Hey, hey, heroes on their way. Fighting forever against overwhelming odds. Fighting together in favor of multiple gods. Idle champions of the forgotten realms. Idle champions, adventure never ends. Idle champions, get you all out there. Idle champions, you will say it again. Idle champions. From Waterdeep to Oxventure, head out to Shove or Shadowfell, hey, hey. Together we stay. Walk to the monsters, walk to the boss, walk to the right, it's never a loss, hey, hey. Bad guys to slay. Fighting forever against overwhelming odds. Fighting together in favor of multiple gods. Idle champions of the forgotten realms. Idle champions, adventure never ends. Idle champions, get you all out there. Idle champions, you will say it again. Idle champions.
One day, I will sacrifice enough to the OBS gods that they will not be so angry at me as to always reset my audio settings. Welcome back to Gaarawarr's Guide, the tutorial show. I'm Gaarawarr. Joining me on the production side today is Martin. He'll be helping us out in chat, pulling questions. Today's topic, they're all finally in the game, so we're going to talk about the Oxventures Guild. As a group, I should probably, maybe spread them out just a little bit. Maybe. Yeah, that's better. There's a lot of them, folks. So, yeah. It's gonna take a little while. So the first half of the show, I'm just gonna talk about these 6 champions and how they function. We'll go over each of them, and then in the second half of the show, I'm gonna answer questions from you. So if you have questions now, throw them in chat. Put question : as you can see down below. Put question and colon first, and then your question. That way it pops out in chat better. It literally lights up in chat for the moderators. So they can, this is the production side, so they can see and grab your question, and then I'll answer it in the second half. That way you don't forget before we get there. Today's code, just a reminder, codes do not show up and are not updated until the streamer shows up on the stream. Today's code, I don't know, it just kind of came to me. I'm not sure why I chose this. Might have something to do with the Oxventures. Maybe. Who knows? So, where do we want to start? You know what? I'll do these in bench order. Let us start the day off with Merylwyn. Over here in slot 2. Merylwyn, Wood Elf Druid. Support and gold find rolls, so that means we're going to see buffing of some kind, and we're going to see some kind of gold feature Ideally, right? So again, everybody we're going to talk about today, Oxventure's Guild. Oxventure's Guild. I would cover the base attack, but right now, Merylwyn's base attack is Distracting Cuteness. Merylwyn does not attack while in cat form. That's Merylwyn in cat form, folks. There you go. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. We are progressing nicely. We'll get to that. Hold on, I forgot I had to have something prepped over here. Saturdays, folks. Saturdays. Where's my thing I need? There it is. Okay. So, ability wise. Oh boy. Yeah, that's better. A neutral party. Merylwyn increases the damage of all neutral champions in the formation by a large amount. Neutral is specifically in parentheses here on the good and evil axis. There are two axes in Dungeons and Dragons. This is a Dungeons and Dragons feature. This is one of the things they brought over from Dungeons and Dragons. It is the alignment up here where hers just says neutral. What this means is she is actually neutral, or maybe neutral. Yeah, it's better visually on the screen. Both of her axes are neutral. But there is a good and evil axis, and there's a lawful and chaotic axis. So the easy way to tell if somebody is neutral on the axis that she wants is, do you see the words good and evil? If you do not, it works with Merylwyn. But if you do, Dungeon Master, lawful good. That isn't buffed by Merylwyn. Brig, chaotic good, isn't buffed by Merylwyn. We got a lot of chaotic good. Do I have anybody? Oh, that's another neutral. Prudence, another member of the Oxventure's Guild, chaotic evil. With this ability, as things stand right now, not buffed by Merylwyn. And you're probably going, wait a minute. Why would an Oxventure's Guild member not buff another Oxventure's Guild member? We'll get there. There's stuff involved, folks. Here we go. Here's Corazon, another member of the Oxventure's Guild, a chaotic neutral. Hey, that's what we're looking for. I don't see good or evil here. That means Merylwyn buffs them. Okay? So that's what you're looking for. You're looking to see when it says neutral on the good and evil axis. You don't want to see good and evil. So you can see lawful, you can see chaotic, you can see neutral, but as long as you don't see good evil, then a neutral party applies. Liquidity. This is the gold find feature. And honestly, folks, it's pretty fantastic. Merylwyn increases gold find by 100% for each Oxventure's Guild champion in the formation, stacking multiplicatively. So when you're running a full Oxventure's Guild formation like this one, we've got like lots of stuff. 6 stacks worth of stuff. We're in an EO4 bonus, and that's real nice, right? I mean, it's, we're not going to be like, oh my god, it's the most gold ever, but that's a nice bonus. That's a nice bonus, and there's other things that can affect that. We'll get there. Hey, we finally got the base attack, so we're going to pause for a moment. Merylwyn's base attack is actually Poison Spray, and I bet that's a surprise because she's got a bow and a quiver of arrows. But yeah, her base attack is actually Poison Spray. It is a magical attack, and now all of a sudden it's gone again. That's the thing with Merylwyn, folks. Looks can be deceiving. With Poison Spray, Merylwyn attacks a random enemy with a magical spray of poison. So just know that Merylwyn's base attack is magical. And Distracting Cuteness itself is also considered a magical attack. This is so that when you're using, instead of not attack, because it doesn't attack, but it's still classified as magical now. And this is so that if you are using other champions that have effects based off people with magical attacks, you don't suddenly lose the value of her counting as magical. Okay. So that's nice. That's a recent change. Wild shape at the start of each non-boss area. Here we go. So until you get to the 130 upgrade, she's just always throwing poison spray. But then things change. So wild shape at the start of each non-boss area, Merylwen takes on the form of a wild cat. She no longer makes normal attacks, but the attack speed cooldown of every adjacent champion is reduced by half a second. If there are ever 15 or more enemies on the screen, Merylwen transforms back to her normal form and starts attacking until the party switches areas. So what happens is, when she is in her wild shape form, she is speeding up the attack speed of everybody adjacent to her, which is nice. We are getting more champions like this that give some attack speed bonuses to people, but there aren't a whole lot, so it's nice to have one around. And then once... the premise here is that, you know, you're attacking quickly and clearing things off the screen and you're moving forward quickly. I'm not going to call it a speed effect. It's not. But it does help you finish zones quicker. I know that should be a speed effect. Not the same, though. Non-attack speed things are speed effects. But then, once enemies start building up, 15 or more... hey, it's time for me to probably start doing something. So she switches back. Punishing puns. Wood elf after my own heart. While in her elf form, Merylwen boosts a neutral party by 1% for each enemy on the screen, stacking additively. So this is a feature that most of the time we only see on tanks. Some kind of ramping effect. In fact, another one of her party members who's a tank is going to have something like this. So this is basically, again, the more enemies are out there, the more damage you're going to be able to do, because she's just increasing her buff by everyone that stacks up. So the maximum amount of enemies you can have on a screen should be 100. So stacking additively, you know, this gets up into an EO4 bonus, but this bonus is straight to a neutral party, so it's a straight up multiplier on a neutral party. But still, you're getting a nice big increase. The longer you're unable to move forward, the bigger the damage buff is, and that's the way you want a damage buff. Like, if it's going to be a ramping buff, you want it to ramp up with more enemies on the screen, not, like, down. And you're probably like, well, of course, they would never do that, Gaarawarr. They did. It's a thing. Not on Merylwen, though. So, on to the specializations. We have three. Stink Like Skunk, Treasures Her Friends, and Meowlwin. Yeah, that's a thing. So Stink Like Skunk is, in all honesty, it's what I tend to use most of the time, simply because of its functionality. But there's usage for all three of these in different situations. So pay attention to the way to what they say and what they're for, and then make the choice that's going to fit your party that you're working with. And maybe the variant that you're in, what you're running up against. So, Stink Like Skunk. Merylwen's normal attack makes hit enemies stink like skunk, taking 2.5 seconds of bud damage every second for 5 seconds. This is a bud-based damage over time effect on her attack. So, this is actually pretty fantastic. There aren't a whole lot of these in the game. And it basically makes her... Even though she's a support, as long as you have a DPS that's setting a formation that's setting a very solid bud, it makes her a secondary DPS. Because her base attack is going to apply a bud-based dot. So you're going to get some damage out of her attacks, whereas with most of the people in your party, you're just not. Like, supports and tanks usually don't do any damage to things. They might remove a segment on a hit-based boss, but they wouldn't on an armored boss. But with Stink Like Skunk, as long as your bud is high enough, Merylwyn can remove segments of armor every second. You get 2.5 seconds of bud every second. So that's a really nice feature. I tend to run it because of that. Because then I'm ripping through armored stuff faster. And I like that. Again, that's my choice, but I would switch it based off what I need for the scenario. Treasures are friends. Merylwyn gains an encouragement stack each second that an enemy is not defeated. So the longer you're not able to kill something, the more encouragement she provides. This caps at 300 stacks, so that means 5 minutes. 5 minutes of not killing anything would be fully capped. For each encouragement stack, the gold find of liquidity is increased by 100%, stacking additively. When an enemy is defeated or the party changes areas, the stacks are reset to 0. This is one of those scenarios where where you're increasing gold as you approach or reach your wall, and it's harder to kill things. Where it might take 50 to 100 enemies somewhere in there to stacking up on a very durable tank to actually trigger the damage bonuses required to kill one or multiple of them. And in that scenario, then she is going to help you generate a lot more gold. So this is good if you are if you do not reach what we call in the community the soft cap on upgrades, where there aren't any upgrades anymore. If you're not reaching that, if you don't know what that is, you might want to run Gold Find. And generally, I recommend Gold Find as your choice, because the more gold you're getting on a variety of champions, because the more gold you're getting as you're making your way through the progression of the areas, the more you can upgrade your champions, and the more you can upgrade your champions, the more damage they're doing. So until you hit that point where they have capped their upgrades out, a feature like Treasures or Friends is good on a character that generally provides good support anyway. Choosing a spec that provides you more gold is a good thing. So there are scenarios where you want to do this. Also, this makes her just fantastic addition to an Azaka farming formation. Azaka farming is a manipulative gameplay mechanic that allows you to generate outrageous amounts of gold once you have finished and are at the deepest point you can get to so far. At that point, you manipulate a scenario where you end up with one enemy on the screen, and you don't kill it. Thus, because you're not killing it, it builds up these stacks and will max out these stacks. And then you swap in a lot of gold find champions, like Merylwyn, and then Azaka bullies that enemy for its lunch money repeatedly. So Merylwyn is fantastic for Azaka farming. Just amazing. I mean, not even a choice. If you have Merylwyn, you put Merylwyn in, you put her in Treasures or Friends, and profit. Meowlowin. So Merylwyn's wild shape attack speed cooldown reduction is increased by 1 second and persists when she is in her elf form. So this is straight up attack speed all the time. So it starts out at a base a half a second, but only when she's the cat. This makes it 1.5 seconds of reduction, and it applies all the time. So if you are building something, a formation that needs attack speed for some reason, not just because, hey, I just want to attack faster, but like if there's effects and things that matter, like if your formation is built around applying debuffs, having them debuff 1.5 times second faster on hit might actually be helpful if that's where the bulk of your power is coming from, right? It just lets you get there quicker. That kind of thing, you'd run Meowlowin, right? I'm gonna do Stink Like Skunk, because again, that tends to be what I do the majority of the time. So hey, this is what we were talking about earlier. This is what a soft cap upgrade looks like. So if you can reach this, then the only time you would run Treasures or Friends is for Azaka farming. All right. Merylwyn's Meat Grinder is the last thing to unlock on her feature list. It is her ultimate, And it is currently the synergy effect for the team. So what that means is right now, like affiliations sometimes will have lots of different abilities, like, or we'll have an ability, or they'll each have a different ability that provides of bonuses based off other people in the formation. What they've done with Oxventurers is that they've centered it around Merowyn. If you don't have Merowyn in, there isn't necessarily a major synergy or bonus for having the other Oxventures in. This is similar to Heroes of the Plains. Heroes of the Plains is centered on Alindra. So they tried that out again. But with Merowyn, it's based on her ultimate, and whether and if her ultimate is active, she gives bonuses to other people on the team's abilities. So, Merowyn's ultimate. Merowyn's Meat Grinder. Stone spikes come out of the ground with a 30-second duration. Enemies take massive damage over time while in the area. So they're only going to take damage if they're standing in the Meat Grinder, to be clear. Here's what it looks like. And where its placement is. It will sit right about there, so it's kind of in the middle. You see, when they load in, they're not going to hit it. And if they're on your tank, it's not going to hit it. So it needs to be... You use this when they're still moving towards you and passing through. It's actually a decent location for hitting some stationary bosses that position themselves right here. It might not hit over here. But, you know, in this kind of general area, good times. Good times. And by good times, I mean... horrible, gruesome death. So yeah. Now the effects that trigger off other people in the party. You're not going to know necessarily what some of these abilities are yet, I'm just going to give it to you now because we're talking about Merowyn, and then just know that it buffs an effect. It buffs useful effects for everybody. For Corazon, enemies affected by grease in the spike area take 200% damage from all sources. So if you have a grease puddle, which, spoiler alert, you can see him on screen there at the top that Corazon leaves behind when he attacks. If they're in the Meat Grinder and on a grease puddle, they take more damage from all sources, which means not just champions, but ultimates and what should be from ultimates and familiars. Prudence. Prudence's glee stacks are set to maximum, so Prudence just gets real happy that death and destruction is happening, which makes sense. Rust. Gold find. Your overall gold find is increased by 1,000% for 30 seconds. They don't even have to be anywhere near it. This makes, spoiler alert, this makes Merowyn and Rust in an Azaka farm formation a great combination. Daub. With Daub, it increases the number of deposit stacks by 1%, rounding up. Minimum increase of 1 stack. We're going to get to Daub's deposit stacks. It's fantastic. It's a scary feature for new players, but it's a fantastic feature. So this is great. And then for Egbert, Egbert's Atone for the Past is buffed by 1,000%. So this all buffs what's going on, like major abilities with the Oxventures group. Okay. All right. Item-wise, we get damage all champions. We get a neutral party buff. We get a liquidity buff. We get a punishing puns buff. So this is really a lot of buffage. This is the gold find one, obviously with liquidity. So you do get a gold find item. So obviously the bigger this gets, the more gold you're earning. That multiplier is going to be nicer. But she does get basically her major abilities all buffed by items. She gets ultimate attack damage, which, yeah, more Meat Grinder, right? And then ultimate cooldown. Feat-wise, she gets a good variety of feats. She has damage all champions. We're going to come back to this one. We get a neutral party. We get liquidity. There isn't something for punishing puns, but that's okay. We do get... Wow, that's a claim. Cutest Oxventure. I mean, yeah, she turns into a cat. So there you go. This is Charisma +2. This is a qualifier for Zariel, for Patron Zariel. So if you want to have Merowyn join you in Patron Zariel variants, you slot this feat. You pick this feat up and slot it. Now, we're going to come back. Perfect form, whichever way you want to do it. Additively increases the base attack cooldown reduction that Merowyn's Wild Shape provides by a half a second. This is basically, do you want to go all in on attack speed reduction? This will take it, if you do this, this will make the base one 1 second. And if you take then the specialization, you're now reducing everybody adjacent's attack speed by 2 seconds. That's you know, percentage-wise, that's great on for like low attack speed. You're going to have base people that are maxed out. But then for longer attack speed champions, it actually makes them more functional, which is a good fit for the Oxventures group. We'll get to that in a moment, because they've got their DPS. Long attack speed. Hey, we're talking about Prudence. The Prudence Tiefling Warlock, DPS. This is the damage dealer, or at least the character that says they're the one that's going to be doing the damage for the Oxventures Guild. Chaotic Evil alignment. So as things sit right now, does not get buffed by Merowyn. But there's a way around that, and we'll get to it. Eventually. We'll get there. Eldritch Blast. A beam of crackling energy shoots toward an enemy daily damage. High attack speed cooldown. Let me make sure they're not. Yeah, they're not adjacent. Okay, yeah. High attack speed cooldown, so reducing attack speed, and it's one of the longest attack animations in the game. If we look at, you see that's the green blast. It's actually still going a little fast because I have a speed effects on. But see how long it takes to kill something? It is the slowest attack speed and attack animation in the game. So she has a slow attack speed and a slow attack speed animation. So speeding up her attack speed, at least with Merowyn, yeah, nice. Glee. This is the ability whose stacks are raised when the meat grinder goes off. Prudence gains 1 stack of Glee each time she kills an enemy. Well, now we know why they go up when the meat grinder goes off, right? For each stack of Glee, her damage is increased by 10%, stacking additively. Glee has a 25% chance to lose a stack whenever a champion other than Prudence gets a kill. So, early on, when everybody's killing things, the Glee isn't going to build up very much. But later, because she's your DPS, she'll be the only one killing things. With her basic attack. So this will ramp up and ramp up and ramp up, and that's what you want. You want it building damage over time. Like the further you go, the harder it is to kill things. She's going to get more powerful, and that's great. Delight increases the damage bonus of Prudence's Glee ability by 100% for each good aligned champion in the formation, stacking additively and then applying multiplicatively. So if she gets to kill things around people who are good alignment, she loves it. She's like, watch me kill these guys. Person who doesn't like to kill people. Yeah. Now remember, so far we've seen neutral, so we haven't seen anybody in a full Oxventures formation that's actually going to buff her, but well, yeah, maybe there's this boy over here, right? So you're going to get bonuses for that. Resolve increases the max stacks of Prudence's Glee because it does cap. It didn't say that in that ability, but it does cap. And there's a... Oh, I lost it. Hold on. Where did you go? Why does it always want to do this? There it is. Why does it do this to me every time I switch over? Glee, caps initially at 10 stacks. Glee caps initially at 10 stacks. It does not say that here, but it does. So it doesn't say it over here either. But based off this resolve, so any neutral or evil champion in the formation, it is going to raise her maximum amount of bonus that she gets. You don't... There is a situation like for her achievement where you're going to want to build a formation around maxing, like getting a high number of these. But in general, you just want to build the best possible formation. Because this is an additive bonus. and not a multiplicative bonus. So just kind of accept whatever you're going to get, unless you're trying to get her achievement. Hunger of Hadar. This is her ultimate. She shares this with at least one other champion, Warden. We'll cover that in a moment. Frustration. Every time Prudence attacks an enemy but does not kill it, she gains a stack of frustration. So, yeah, this makes sense. We're going to get bonuses if she can't kill things. Frustration stacks increase her damage by 200%, stacking multiplicatively. That's the good way. The maximum number of frustration stacks is equal to the number of champions adjacent to Prudence. So to get the most out of Prudence, you want her positioned in your formation. This is her positioning indicator. You want her positioned somewhere where she is adjacent to as many champions as possible. Frustration stacks are reduced by 1 each time Prudence gets a kill. So in this formation layout, she would ideally be right here, where she could potentially be surrounded by 6 champions, right? This would allow her to get the maximum amount of frustration stacks, and since frustration stacks are multiplicative, that's worth it. That's worth it. So positioning her correctly is worth it. And obviously she's going to do better in a situation where she's positioned like in formations where she can be surrounded by 6 people. If she can only have like 2 adjacent to her, she's gonna perform, subpar, right? Let's go ahead and pop off her ultimate. So, Hunger of Hadar, this functions the same way for her and Warden. Prudence opens a gateway to the dark between the stars, a region infested with unknown horrors. An area of blackness and bitter cold appears on the ground slightly in front of the formation. Tentacles erupt out of it, pulling all enemies together. So, boom. That's what it looks like. If I wasn't killing everything right away, it's a magnet. Everything gets sucked into that area. So it's a way to either pull a lot of things to you quickly or pull them off of your tank, although it is, albeit just a short distance off of them. But it is a way to gather, especially if things are spread up, because its positioning is between the tank line and the ranged line, like where ranged enemies might stop. It can suck everything together, allowing you an opportunity to trigger like an AoE hits or AoE ultimates, or trigger hit-based AoE effects like with Krull or Baloth, so that you can wipe out large groups of enemies, even if they're starting out in really spread out. Specializations, Eldritch Torrent or She Hungers. So these are reset features, and you just have to decide what you want to reset. With Eldritch Torrent, when Prudence attacks, there's a 50% chance that her base attack cooldown will be immediately reset. So this is fantastic because she has a long base attack cooldown. So if you want to give her a little more wave clear, if you don't have a lot of attack speed bonuses or something that's causing her to attack faster, you would do this so that she actually has a chance to kill lots of things, because Eldritch Blast is a single target attack. So she does not have a wave clear feature. And this gives her a little bit of one. She Hungers. When Prudence attacks, there's a 10% chance that her ultimate attack cooldown will be immediately reset. Prudence ultimate damage is increased by 200%. So this makes her ultimate do more damage, but it also gives her a 1 in 10 chance to just ignore the cooldown. So it's a fairly long cooldown. It's over a couple minutes. I have some reduction going on. So it's like, it's like 3 minutes, I want to say, in that neighborhood, a little over 3 minutes. So you could there's a chance that you're just going to reset it immediately when she attacks. So if you are looking for the crowd control functionality, or you just want to nuke things with the ultimate, I guess we'll just use that term, which, sure. If you just want to, wreck things with ultimates, then you would trigger this. So you would go with that specialization. Most of the time when I'm using Prudence DPS, I'm going Eldritch Torrent. But if for some reason I'm running a high attack speed formation with her, then I'll just go ahead and go with the ultimate, because I don't really need I don't need the reset as badly. So it's situational to a certain degree. I think most of the time going with the left spec is kind of the best way to do it. Item-wise, we get self-damage, but then we go straight into ability buffs. We get Glee, we get Delight, and we get Frustration, so this is fantastic. Because remember, these are real solid abilities, so being able to boost all of them is nice, instead of just straight-up damage. We get ultimate attack damage, and we get ultimate cooldown reduction. Straight-up self-damage feats. We get Glee feats. We get a single frustration feat and a single delight feat. So she has a variety of ways to boost herself. Again, because frustration is multiplicative, I like to throw that one in. But then outside of that, it just depends on what's going on. Like obviously, if you kind of want to go with the biggest self-damage feat after that. And she's got a couple of those. She's got a couple of those. All right, that's Prudence. Let's go on to the newest Oxventures, Egbert. Egbert's our Dragonborn Paladin. Roles are taking, healing, support, gold. He slices, he dices, he juliennes. Act now and get an extra Egbert. No. For the same price. No. Just play shipping and handling. Chaotic good alignment. Basic attack is homemade bombs, because that's what you want, right? You want someone making their own bombs. I don't know if that's a good thing, but sure. I will say this is fantastic. Egbert arrives. So on top of obviously Oxventures Guild people are happy. Those of us in the community who have wanted a ranged tank for years now have one. There are variants in the game where you can only use champions with ranged attacks, ranged basic attacks. And we've never had a tank for those, and now we do. So now we have there's a ton of melee tanks. There's one pure magic attack tank, and now there's one pure ranged attack tank. So homemade bombs. Egbert throws a bomb at the nearest enemy, dealing damage and knocking back enemies in a small area. So it is an AoE base attack with knockback crowd control, which means Egbert doesn't tank so much as he keeps things off your formation. As long as he's attacking quickly, which he isn't. But again, he has somebody in his formation who could help him with that, right? He could potentially keep things off of him most of the time, which is neat. So a lot of what Egbert does is based off Tone for the Past. Pretty much everything is based off a Tone for the Past. And there's some math terminology that gets involved with Egbert, so hold on to your butts. Egbert has a number of atonement points equal to the number of lawful champions in the formation, minus the number of chaotic champions in the formation, not including Egbert himself. So Egbert doesn't count himself in this math, but he counts everybody else. Egbert increases the damage of all champions behind him by 100%, multiplied by the number of atonement points he has, squared. TLDR, you want to get the highest number of atonement points possible. Or, I guess maybe the better way to phrase this, the highest number away from 0. Because, as you remember, it states here, it minus the number of chaotic champions. If you have a lot of chaotic champions, this ends up being a negative number. But then you square it, which makes it a positive, right? So if we go over here, I'm at minus 3 atonement points. The squared atonement points mean that's 9. So the number is going to get rid of the minus, and we're going to do, I've got 9 atonement points. So I've got some decent points. This is only minus 3. We can get as far as minus 9, or as high as positive 9. So just know you want to either go for the largest negative number or the largest positive number you can build. So when you're in a bit, we're going to have to choose a specialization. And the way you choose your specialization is you come here to the Formation Buffs tab and you look to see, is this number a negative or a positive? And if it's a positive, you choose the left spec. If it's a negative, you choose the right spec. It's that easy. You don't got to you don't got to count a lot of stuff. You don't, hopefully they'll add it to the spec screen to make it easier, but this is where you find it. All right, so atone for the past. We want the largest number and you try to build the largest either positive or negative. So you do kind of need to know what's going on in the formation, but maybe not. Sometimes it's just going to end up somewhere. Lay on hands. After Egbert makes a base attack, so every 7.25 seconds, or actually it's higher than this. I'm in Sword Coast. It's like 7.75 or 8.25. It's one of those. If there is a champion below 50% hit points, including himself, he heals the most damaged champion for an amount multiplied by the absolute value of the number of atonement points he has. What does that mean? It means it's taking away the minus sign. It's just looking at the straight number. So if I just cover this up, I have just absolute valued this number. I am now ignoring that there is a negative. I'm looking at 3. I'm taking that 3. I'm multiplying it by the number. Because at the end of the day, what they're trying to do is give you bonuses to things. And if they didn't say absolute value, then it would have been a number minus 3, and then they'd be subtracting health from people. While that would be hilarious, I don't think people would enjoy it. I don't think people would enjoy it. So just know when they're talking about absolute numbers, they're getting rid of the minus sign. They're getting rid of the minus sign. Just for math reasons. Friendly protection. Egbert increases the health of all other champions by 5% of his max health. And right, if we stopped right there, people would be going, wait, don't tanks normally do 25%? Yeah. 5% of his max health multiplied by the absolute value of the number of atonement points he has. So again, if you can tell, everything's based off the number of atonement points. The higher number, the better. If we could get to 9, either positive 9 or negative 9, he'd be sharing 45% of his health, which is amazing. That's the best health share in the game, if you can get there with your formation build. But right now we have 3, which means he's only sharing 15%. Womp womp womp. You would need an atonement points of 5 to equal the same kind of health share as other tanks. More the merrier. Egbert increases the effect of Atone for the Past by 100% for each enemy on the screen, and each point of enemy boss in rage, stacking additively and then applying multiplicatively. This is his ramping feature, so kind of like Merowyn before, but also including in rage bonuses. This is a key feature of a tank, and this means the longer that Egbert is able to stay alive, even if you're not killing things, the more he's going to buff the damage of the party. That's what we like to see. Golden Scales. Egbert increases the global gold find by 100% multiplied by the absolute value of the number of atonement points he has. So once again, the higher number, the better. The most you're ever going to get is 900%. So it's not a huge value, but it's still gold find. And at the end of the day, we like gold find. We like gold find. Specializations, folks. Again, the left side is about positive numbers. The right side is about negative numbers. So, Tome begins with an apology. Remember, the numbers are based off of lawful versus chaotic, which means if someone's neutral, up to this point, they don't count towards your atonement points. This makes them count. So the left side either makes neutral champions on that lawful chaotic axis give you a positive point. Team Chaos team makes neutral champions give you a negative point. Now, if you recall, we were in the negative points, so we're going to go Team Chaos team. This means we now have, instead of 3, we have 5, because there were 2 neutral champions on that lawful chaotic side. So that gives us 5 points now. So now I'm getting the regular health share for tanks. Now I'm getting 25 squared atonement points. So not bad. I don't even have a full party. There's still room for more going on here. Oh, level it up, Gaarawarr. That might be a good thing. He does have a second specialization set. Let me make sure. I think that's all the abilities. So we get Lavasha Mauve. This is the ultimate. We gotta pause for ultimates, folks. I gotta take a sip of water for this one. It's a thing. It's a whole thing. Let me hide these. Here we go, folks. You asked for it. You get it. I don't think anybody asked for this. Clouds come down from the top of the screen and part, revealing the head of Lavasha Mauve. This is Egbert's god. So, Egbert's god's head comes out of a cloud. Radiant light shines out from behind their head and illuminates the area. Enemies take ultimate damage, and the champions deal 1,000% more damage for 20 seconds. So this is, along with just, hey, this ultimate does damage, this is an increased damage feature for your champions. So you hit this when you need to kill stuff. Here we go, folks. There you go. That's Egbert's god, folks. It's a purple cow. Lavasha Mauve. That's a thing that's in the game now. I can't. Every time I laugh, I can't. Oh boy. Oh boy. All right, second specializations, because it's like second lunch or second breakfast. I mean, or second dinner. Yeah. It's a good thing. We get three options: Smoky Bombs, Health Kick, or Oxventure Capitalism. You're going to choose these options based off what functionality you want from Egbert. So again, not necessarily one choice to rule them all. You need to know what you want from the situation. I'm going to tell you right now, most of the time I run Smoky Bombs. So far. Egbert's bombs now also create smoke clouds that last for 10 seconds. Enemies in one or more smoke clouds take an additional amount of damage from attacks, so there's a debuff feature there, and have a 50% chance to miss with their attacks, which is a fantastic survivability feature. There are very few survivability features like this one with missing attacks in the game. And this is an AoE for everything that's in these clouds, which means if you have smoke clouds right in front of your tank line, like that front column, everything attacking your tank line taking 50% less damage, effectively, because it's hitting 50% of the time, right? So this is really nice. This is really nice. That's why I tend to run it. Health Kick, Egbert's Lay on Hands, that's the heal, targets the two most damaged champions, and the amount of healing is increased by a large amount. There are ways to increase these numbers, so I'm not just going to give a flat value. So yeah, normally Egbert would only heal one person at a time, but now he heals two. And the heals are now larger, so if you need more healing in your party, this is where you go. Oxventure Capitalism, Egbert increases the effect of golden scales by 100% for each Oxventure's affiliation member in the formation, stacking multiplicatively. If you are running a full Oxventure's formation, this turns Egbert's gold find into an amazing gold find number, because it's 100% multiplicatively, not just additively. And his gold find, remember, golden scales was to start. 100% times the number of atonement values, so golden scales right now is like 500%, right? But if we choose Oxventure's Capitalism, major boost. I'm actually going to choose that for this scenario just so you can see. We get that, and now, where's it at? Golden scales is now an EO5 bonus, so we went from 500% gold find to EO5, which is even bigger than Merylwyn's. And we're not even done leveling them up yet. So if you want a lot of gold find, again, if you are at the point where you're not reaching this circle with a line through it symbol, which is a soft cap, gold find gets you more damage. So choosing that could be the way to go. You'll be able to upgrade your champions faster, get them to power points, get them more health, all those things. It could be way better than choosing smoky bombs or more healing. So let's look at that number, actually, now that I'm fully leveled up. Yeah, EO6. So we get an EO6 gold find bonus. That's a big deal, folks. That's a big deal. So if you're running Egbert and you're running a full Oxventure's formation, this can get you a lot of gold. So choose based off what you're going for. For me, I hit soft cap, so I don't need the gold, so I go with the smoky bombs. But you know, everybody's going to be in a different situation. Okay. Item wise, we get damage all champions. We get just straight up gold find. It doesn't buff the gold find ability, because as you can see, there's a multiplicative bonus there, and that might get broken. So they just buff gold find directly. Then we have a health bonus. Then we get atone for the past. So it's hitting with health. You're getting what you need for the tank. The gold find is that item, and the atone for the past is this item, and everything else but tends to buff off atone for the past. So that's fine. And then we get, this is interesting, we're actually boosting specialization choices, which we have only seen a couple times in this game. So whatever second specialization choice you're choosing, it gets boosted by this item. And then we have ultimate attack cooldown, so you can see that cow more often. Items, there's a lot. Because he has 4 roles, he has default items for each of them. So we get damage all champions, we get health bonuses, we get lay on hands for the healing, we get atone for the past, we get a feat that also does those second specializations to make them even bigger. We get overwhelm because, again, they're a tank. We get a straight up gold find. That shouldn't be green. Should it? Oh, that's odd. Yeah, okay, but it's normally it would be a default. Normally greens are default, but they put it down here. That threw me off. So yeah, you get a lot of different stuff. It's just they throw everything into atone for the past, so you don't get a lot of the abilities. They just give you that second specialization and lay on hands. They don't give you like golden scales or anything like that. That's Egbert. We're halfway through, and we're almost the halfway point. Oh, geez. There's a lot going on with this group, folks. So the question, I mean, I know we have a lot of questions. If you have questions, ask them. There's already about a dozen stacked up over here. I will just answer super quickly in the second half. On to Corazon, a pirate after my own heart. Basically because pirate. That's all it takes, folks. Human rogue, support. Corazon is a support, which I'm told that when the Oxventures, the players, saw that Corazon is a support in the game, they're like, that doesn't seem right. Which is funny. Chaotic neutral. Basic attack, Shadow Step. Corazon attacks a random enemy from the shadows. So Corazon does random attacks. This is important to remember. Pirate's Code. Corazon increases the damage of all neutral champions in the formation by an amount. Once again, here we go. Merylwyn did this. Now Corazon is doing it. Which probably has you going, but wait a minute, their DPS, Prunes, is evil. How does this work? We'll get there. We're finally to that point, folks. We're finally to the point where you'll find out why this all works. We'll get there momentarily. Grease is the word. Whenever Corazon attacks, he leaves behind a moderately sized puddle of grease under the enemy he attacked. We've seen this on the screen. You can see it right over here. Grease puddles do not hinder other champions, but they do slow enemies passing through them by 25%. So there's a bit of a slow feature, which is nice, especially for multiple reasons. We already know that if you stack the grease with the meat grinder, there's more damage, but also it means they're standing in the meat grinder longer, which is nice. The maximum number of grease puddles on the screen at once is equal to the number of neutral champions in the formation. Again, that same good evil axis. Right now we have 4 of those. So we can put out 4 puddles. Champions, the effects of grease puddles stack multiplicatively if an enemy is standing in multiple puddles at once. So the effect that we're looking at is the slow. So if multiple puddles stack up, like say you have enemies, all their enemies are on your tank line, but you knock them back a little bit and all the puddles were there, then it's going to take them a long time to walk back to the tank line because they're slowed multiplicatively. There we go. Honorary crewmates. Here we go, folks. We finally got there. All champions adjacent to Corazon are treated as neutral in addition to their actual alignment. This is the key. This is the key. In its base ability, this means that you want Corazon next to Prudence in an Oxventure's formation. This makes Prudence qualify for both Merylwyn and Corazon's buffs. And any other buffs that might go towards neutral champions. So this is a trigger effect that changes alignment or adds additional alignment because they're still their original alignment. Nothing will change up here. These are static, not dynamic. But the game will credit people as neutral. There's another way to do it. We'll get to that. In fact, we'll get to that right now with the specialization choices. Distant crewmates, Corazon's honorary crewmates ability now affects all non-adjacent champions instead of adjacent ones. So if in the formation the best place for Corazon is you have too many adjacent buffers, and you can't put Corazon next to Prudence, you would put Corazon like baby in the corner, and then all non-adjacent people to Corazon become neutral. There's reasons for this. In fact, his achievement is based off that. So this spec is definitely used to get it's the easiest one in my opinion to get the achievement. It's not required. Mage Hand, the best cantrip, right, folks? So such a good cantrip. There's even a Bardic Inspiration song about it. Mage Hand. Oh, I should have queued that up today. Did I queue songs up today? Oh, I did. Yeah, okay. Grease puddles now form under the furthest enemy from the formation instead of under the enemy attacked. So they'll stack up basically over here as long as there's enemies still spawning in. And more specifically, if you have a stationary boss with enemies that stream past it constantly, the puddles will build up under the boss. This is huge. This is huge. We'll get to this. The effect of the puddles is increased by 10% multiplicatively. So, again, stronger puddles. Now, so far we've only talked about a slow being attached to that, but there's so much more, and we're gonna get there in a moment. Maybe now. Let me finish leveling up. The fiery bombardment. Yeah, technically now, but we're gonna skip it. Goat pirate. We're gonna come back because it's a big deal. Goat pirate. Increase the effect of pirate's code by 1%. Each time Corazon attacks, stacking additively. This lasts until the adventure completes. This makes Corazon what I call a ramping champion. In fact, I've got a guide to ramping champions on the C&E YouTube channel. And we talk about Corazon in one of them. There's a lot of these. They've got 2 guides for them. You want Corazon in early, like as soon as possible, and leveled up to 320 as soon as possible, so that he can start stacking this up. And having Merylwyn in with attack speed bonuses helps because that means he's attacking more often. So you're getting these additive bonuses. It's a small amount, but it stacks up as things get bigger. Because I just updated here, I've only got 8 stacks, so it looks like it's a small number, but it is. But it's gonna tick up and tick up and tick up over time. And ultimately can create very large bonuses the longer you're in a run. So just know that you want Corazon in early and attacking quickly to ramp that up. You could do an early run with lots of attack speed bonuses and then switch to damage bonuses at the end after he's ramped up his numbers super high. There's ways to manipulate this. Okay, I'm going to stop here. And we're going to talk about fire and bombardment. I just paused. I want the grease puddles to stay on the screen. I don't want to leave the level. Corazon's ship, the Joyful Damnation, fires flaming cannonballs from afar. The bombardment damages all enemies. So it's a screen-wide damage. Much like Jarlaxle's, but this is like Jarlaxle 2.0. And lights all existing grease puddles on fire for 30 seconds. So Everything on the right side of the screen is going to light up here in a moment, folks. Enemies in the flaming grease puddles are dealt 1/30th of this ultimate's damage per second. So they're going to take damage every second per puddle. So if you have all of these stacked up in one place, like under that stationary boss I was talking about, suddenly, however many puddles you have are going to be doing damage every second. So we only have 4 puddles, but that's still 4 ticks of damage per second that are going off. The more you have, the more it's going to hit each second for that bud-based damage. This is bud-based damage. They're also going to take 100% more damage while the puddle's on fire, so they're taking double damage. So it's a debuff, so the enemies are taking more damage, and it's doing damage to them every second for 30 seconds. This is the most destructive ultimate against segmented health enemies in the game. This outpaces, it used to be Krull. This outpaces Krull by a large amount because of the fact that when they stack together, they get bonuses. They get bonuses. And they last for 30 seconds. That's a long time. Here we go, folks. Boom. Fire. All right, so we get the damage across the screen, and then they're all lit on fire, and then they're just going to stay burning for 30 seconds. And so the entire time they're burning, they're going to be damaging bosses. Now, it is a situation where when you stack this up on a stationary boss that is like an armored or a hit-based boss, it is my experience that when I hit that button and it lands, the boss is just gone. The boss it ticks off more. I think it ticks off more than it should right away on the impact for some reason, and it just deletes the boss off the screen. They just go away. When it's hit based, they're gone. When it's armored, it still has to make those damage checks, but when it's hit based, it just disappears. So this is an amazing ultimate. And remember, you can level Corazon up, not have him in your formation, but just swap him in and fire that like set high bud with another formation. Swap Corazon in and just delete a hit based boss or an armored boss. And then let his cooldown return and then swap him back out. Why not? Why not? Great fun for all the friends and family. Item-wise, we have damage all champions, a pair of them. We get Pirate's Code. We get Goat Pirate. So this is the ramping damage bonus, the in-run ramping damage. So this is a great item to get a bonus on. That's why mine is at like 17%. It's because of this item. We get ultimate attack damage. Yay! And ultimate cooldown reduction. Double yay for this champion. Feat-wise, we get damage all champions. We get Pirate's Codes feats. We get a Goat Pirate feat. We also get a Constitution feat, +2. This qualifies you for Vajra as a patron. So if you want to bring Corazon into patron Vajra stuff, you need the Tenacious feat. You need the Tenacious feat. Next up is Rust. Rust on the harbor, folks. I want to be clear. This is not... There's a lot of people going... Why does he look like that? This is not Rust's default appearance. This is Rust's default appearance. This is Rust on the harbor, folks. But come on. When they make a skin for the champion, and it's them in a boat with a sail on their hat, like they're cosplaying a boat. Why would I put any other skin on this champion ever? So Rust, Tabaxi Rogue, support and gold. So again, this group likes the gold. This group likes the gold. Neutral on both axes. Base attack, stabby. Rust leaps out and stabs a random enemy with his rapier. Rust for hire is the first ability. Rust increases your gold find by an amount. Right now it's even already at EO 4% for me. But there's stuff affecting that. So this is great. Just straight up gold find right away. 1 gold piece. Rust has a 12% chance to gain a shiny gold piece from any kill. While holding this gold piece, the effects of his Rust for hire and highest bidder abilities are increased by an amount. Rust has a 3% chance to accidentally lose a gold piece each time he attacks with his rapier. So this is kind of an RNG bonus. You can see the visual effect right now. I do have it. It's this golden donut. That's a coin. It's just a coin with a hole in it, like older coins, so they could string them together instead of in a purse. So this is what it looks like when you have that effect. Now, when he's attacking, he could lose that effect. He could drop it. There's a way to change that, but just know that normally that's an RNG thing that is on sometimes and goes away sometimes. Highest bidder. Rust increases the damage of all champions by 100% for each order of magnitude of your gold find percentage. This is the only ability like this in the game. It's going to give you damage based off your gold find. What's your gold find percentage? It's this number at the top left under your accumulated gold. It says % gold find. Your gold find is affected by a lot of things. First and foremost, your gold find is affected by the favor in your campaign. That's where the bulk of my gold find is coming from, is my favor. So Rust is going to give you better damage bonuses in campaigns where you have more favor. Which means Rust gets better. If you want to keep adding favor to a campaign, it's going to keep adding damage bonuses to Rust. Obviously diminishing returns, but still. And then obviously the second thing that's going to affect it is any people in your champions in your formation, any champions in your formation that are giving gold find bonuses. And a lot of people in Oxventures are. Then the higher those get, the more your damage bonuses. So anything that raises gold find, like when Merowyn's meat grinder goes off, Rust for hire, the gold your gold find goes up. So that also means your damage goes up because of highest bidder. So it all synergizes really well. As a group, it may not look like it at the on first glance, it may not look like they synergize well. They actually do. All of these things come together to help each other out. Hello, friends. Rust's chance for 1 gold piece to find a shiny gold piece from any kill is increased by 100% for each other Oxventure's guild champion in the formation, stacking additively and then applying multiplicatively. So if Rust loses his gold piece, if he is in a full Oxventure's guild formation, he will get it back quicker. That's what's going on here. So if we look at Hello Friends, I now have a 500% bonus to get that. And the normal bonus, so that's now it's 12% chance to gain it, where it was much smaller originally. If we pull everybody out, it's a much smaller number. Specializations. This is fun for Rust. It's key for certain functionality, but you do get some specialized focus a little bit here. Especially Shiny increases the ability bonus of 1 gold piece by 100%, so basically double the boosts to his other functionality abilities. That's a good generic thing to run with if you're okay with the RNG factor of his 1 gold piece. Close Friends. The ability bonus of 1 gold piece is increased by 100% for each other Oxventurer's guild champion within 2 slots, stacking multiplicatively. So, again, if you're running a full Oxventurer's formation and everyone is within 2 adjacent slots of Rust, the 1 gold piece feature is boosted. Again, 100% multiplicatively. That's a big deal. So this is kind of what you would want to choose. Once again, if you're okay with the RNG functionality of the 1 gold piece ability, you just want the biggest damage numbers potential to happen based off RNG, Close Friends. Rust Reloaded. If you do not like the fact that he can drop that coin and suddenly you lose all of these boosts, you go with this. Rust now only attacks with his pistols and can only lose his 1 gold piece during his ultimate. So you can make it so that once he gets that gold piece, he never loses it unless you hit the ultimate, and that's your choice. Just know when you hit that ultimate, you're going to lose a lot of his bonuses, right? So I tend to go with Rust Reloaded, especially because this makes Rust great to pre-stack, grab his gold piece, and then use in Azaka farming formations. Rust is fantastic for Azaka farming. Again, a lot of the Oxventures have great bonuses for Azaka farming. Merowyn and Rust at minimum are great. Eggbird is now an option. I will say Egbert's in the same slot with Freely, so probably still loses to Freely. But Merowyn and Rust, great for Azaka farming. I'm going to go ahead and go with Close Friends so we can see that number. And you can see what that looks like multiplicatively, because everybody in this formation is within 2 slots. So everybody qualifies for the ultimate bonus or for the specialization bonus. So we get a 3,100% bonus to all of the other stuff, which is nice. All right. Oh, wait. Was that everything? Hold on. I was going to go straight to the ultimate. I think so. Yes. Cannonball! Oh boy. Russ loads himself into a cannon and fires himself towards the enemies, dealing damage in a large area upon landing. When using his ultimate, Rust has a 40% chance of dropping his shiny gold piece midway through his flight. This chance is reduced by 2.5% for every 4.5 seconds of ultimate cooldown reduction he has. Ultimate cooldown reduction is obviously this item. I have 98 seconds, so I've got a bunch of reduction on that chance. I think it's already applied here. It's already active, so I think that might be higher. Basically, just know when you fire the ultimate, you're probably losing the coin until you get a lot of reduction. Here we go, folks. Oh boy, he's in a cannon, and I want to note, he does actually have this hat on from the skin. So when it's pointing out, it's got the sail sticking out of it. So the ultimate does take into account the skin that he has on, which is just fantastic. So Rust on the Harbor, folks. Item-wise, damage all champions. We get 1 gold piece. We get Rust for Hire. We get highest bidder, attack damage, and ultimate attack. So good itemization. We get damage all champions feats. We get a 1 gold piece. We get Rust for Hire, multiple of them. We get Close Friends, and we get highest bidder. So there's a lot of options for how you want to feat Rust out. Finally, we come to Daub. After I explain Daub, we're going to take a short break, a short musical interlude while I rest my voice, and we'll come back and I'll get through all of these questions. Martin has been grabbing them. We got about 15 stacked up so far. Daub is a half-orc bard, support and gold find. Again, I tell you, everybody in the Oxventures likes that gold. Cat at good alignment. Thunder Wave is the basic attack. Daub leaps to the closest enemy and attacks with a wave of thunder, knocking them back. So yet again, some more crowd control for this group. Traveling Entertainer. Daub increases the damage of all champions not next to him by an amount. So you do not want Daub next to your DPS. So just make sure they're away from the DPS. It can be anywhere. Until you get to busking. Daub increases global gold find by 30% for each champion next to him, stacking multiplicatively. So you actually want Daub adjacent to as many champions as possible while still not being adjacent to the DPS if you want the gold find bonuses. So in this formation, it gets a little, it can get a little weird because technically you would want her here. So Daub could only go here. If you give up some frustration stacks, you could put her here, and you could get gold find by moving Daub here, right? That's the kind of things you have to make trade-offs. Understand what your trade-offs are for, right? Offshore accounting. This is fantastic. If occasionally you've been seeing Daub over here have a stream of gold fall from the sky onto him and him run off with it, if you've been wondering what that is, this is it. At the transition to each new area, there's a 25% chance that Daub sets the champion's gold amount to 0. That's this number at the top left. Taking my gold. Sets it to 0. That's why there's a stream from that of gold down to him, and then he jets. And then you gain deposit stacks equal to the exponent of the lost gold. So he is depositing. Well, he's taking your gold and he's going and he's dumping it in a lake. Canonically, I guess. He's taking your gold. At this moment, the exponent is the number after the E. I would gain, if he takes it right now, I would gain 102 deposit stacks. Okay, now remember, it's fine, because the second I kill something else, I'm going to make more gold. Okay? Don't be scared about this. Because it's not like he's just taking it and you're not getting anything for it. He gives back. Daub increases both the damage increase of Traveling Entertainer and the gold find bonus of busking by 10% for each deposit stack. Stacking additively, applied multiplicatively. The number of deposit stacks is capped at 25 times the highest area completed in the current adventure. So I said I was going to get 102. Technically I would, because 25 times 149 is well over 102. But just know that there is a cap based off your progress. So the further you go, the higher the bonuses get. The lake pays a good interest rate. Yes, it does. Yes to this ability. Yes, Daub, please, take my money. Take my money, please. Take it over and over and over again. Stay capped, my friend. Because 10% times those numbers, I mean, you're getting just major bonuses. Right now I'm at 2,422 stacks. I have an EO4 bonus both to gold find and to damage. To gold find and to damage. To the gold find ability and to damage. So, yes, this is great. This is great. So the further you go with Daub, the stronger he makes your team. The specializations, I'm just going to make this really simple. I can go over this. There's a magical one, there's a charisma one, there's a dexterity one, and then there's like unique races. Look, just come down here to the bottom and pick the one with the largest number. This is what makes this easy. You want the one with the largest number. Now, because we're in a full Oxventure's Guild formation, it's just 6 across the board. But as you flesh your formation out with other people, you don't want to choose this until you have everybody in your formation. Once you do, go with it. Just pick whatever. Pick whatever has the highest number. It's real straightforward. All right. Ethelfrith's hammer. Oh, we'll get there. He went. He ran off with my money. Good job. Good job, Dob. Ethelfrith's hammer. Great. Dob uses the hammer to summon a bunch of skeletons to build a wall that lasts 20 seconds. So the wall lasts 20 seconds. Canonically, I think it's 60 skeletons and a flame skull to watch over them. In the game, it's 6 skeletons and a flame skull. But it's 6. It's supposed to be 60. So the wall lasts 30 seconds, and it does damage to enemies that are in the way, so that it's blocking. For the duration, so that 20 seconds, evil champions deal 1,000% damage for reasons best left unsaid. So this is a straight up buff to Prudence. You hit the button, and not only is there going to be an ultimate damage burst at the wall, Prudence is going to do more damage for 20 seconds. So here we go. This is what it looks like. There we go. Build that wall. It's built. Now they go away. And it's going to last for 20 seconds. And we're just going to stand here because we can't move forward. There's a wall in the way. Okay. Makes sense, right? The wall isn't going to move. The wall isn't going to move, you know? That's the ultimate, folks. That's the ultimate. So that's it. Daub is very straightforward. Daub, as I saw in chat, Daub is Paulton 2.0. Paulton is a straightforward champion. Daub does similar things to Paulton in the forms of Traveling Entertainer and busking, but the other abilities of Daub actually are vastly different from Paulton and are fantastic. So a better Paulton all around. Sorry, Paulton. Item-wise, we get damage all champions. We get a gold find boost. Again, just straight gold find, not to the ability, because that could get broken real fast. Traveling Entertainer, Befriend. This is the specialization boost. So again, here's what they've got a couple champions in this group that buff the specialization choice. And then ultimate attack damage and ultimate attack cooldown. feat-wise, we get Damage All Champions. We get some straight-up Gold Find. We get Traveling Entertainer. We get Befriend. We get an interesting one for offshore accounting. I'm going to take a moment to talk about this because some people get confused by this. There are reasons this exists, and whether you need it or not is up to you. So this increases the chance for Dobbs' offshore accounting ability to trigger by 100%, not to 100%. This doesn't make it trigger every time. It increases it by 100%. Now the base chance is 25%, so a 1 in 4 chance. If you get double deposit and apply it, every other area, statistically, he should be running away with your gold. In my experience, this is something that if you are able to push, 600, 700 levels, you don't necessarily need it. Statistically, by that point, you will have triggered it often enough and regularly enough that it's going to stay capped. However, if you're not going super far, if you're, couple hundred levels, statistics might not have been good to you and you might not be capped. And this may be something that you might want to run to make sure that you're capping this thing up. It's an odd feat, but it exists for a reason. It just isn't necessarily something that, I wouldn't get it personally, which is why I don't have it. Because if I'm using Dob, I'm running 800, 1,000, 1,200 levels with Dob. I'm gonna stay capped. But if you want to make sure that you're always capped, this will pretty much do it. And remember, you could throw this in during your run, and then when you get to your wall, you could switch to something that does more damage and push a little further. So it's hot swappable. That's it, folks. If you have specific questions about achievements, you can ask. I'm not necessarily going to go over them, but their achievements are all fairly straightforward. Some require a little formation manipulation. We're going to take a short break. I want to say that this song is Waterdeep, because I love Waterdeep, folks, from Bardic Inspiration. Be back in a few minutes.
That you cast, I look out to see 1,000 swaying masts. Glancing up, I see the griffins flying by. You know the city's saved by land, sea, and sky. Water deep, city that never sleeps. Water deep, crown of the north. We've adorned, but this antique city hides beneath centuries of history buried deep. There's a port of skulls westwards towards the sea, a lawless outpost run by thugs and thieves. Underneath it all, the mad-made plans and schemes in a labyrinth of death and opportunity. Oh, water deep, city that never sleeps. Water deep, crown of the north.
Yay for Waterdeep. I like that song. It's good. All right, folks. I'm going to hit up the questions. I'm going to hit the ones that are on topic first. Then I'll come back. I do want to address something in chat, though. We don't talk about what the mortar's made out of. Yeah, nope. Tarhe the Terrible. I think I nailed it. Is there an interaction between Meryl's Meat Grinder Ultimate and Egbert? Yes. I think it's all been listed in the game now. Hold on, let me go over to Merylwyn. It's not over here. It's like over here, I think. Yeah, Meat Grinder. So if you want to see the interactions with the other champions, they're right here. So Corazon, Daub, Egbert, Prudence, and Rust. So again, for Egbert, Atone the Past buff by 1,000%. Target the Terrible. All epics is semi-achievable in a sort of reasonable amount of time. But how much item levels do you have on your Oxventures? Oh, for me, just generally speaking, I don't know. My item level floor is usually around an average of 140. So I'd say that all of them are in and around that area. I don't know why I would have boosted any of them up. Yeah, they're all looking roughly. Yeah, so probably around 100, average item level 140 right now. Yeah, they're not somebody that, they don't have like items that cap or have like speed bonuses, so I wouldn't have invested tons of blacksmithing contracts in them. They would have just gained these levels on their way to getting full epics. Foolish Genius. Are there any DPS champions besides Prudence that Oxventure support well? I mean, generally speaking, obviously neutral is a big deal. Neutral on the good and evil axis, but Corazon, if you're using Corazon, he fixes that. But if you're not using the Prudence and Corazon, if you don't have them, for Merylwyn, she does need that neutral. I mean, generally, I feel like you can hot swap just about anyone in with them because of Corazon's ability to make things neutral. Yeah, I don't see why you couldn't. Yeah, you're losing a little bit of the synergy with the Meat Grinder though, but it might be worth it. Just depends. Winterborn, would Merylwyn be a good support for an Aerois formation? I don't know. Hold on, Lucius. Where are you, Lucius? I always forget. Neutral. So potentially, because it's based off. It's going to be based off if Merylwyn could buff Lucius, and she can. So sure. I mean, you're getting gold find, you're getting attack speed. Attack speed's good for Ayla. What you're not getting is one of the new features of the Heroes of Aerois, or one of the new things that's kind of good for some of them, are crowd control effects. She doesn't really have that. So I mean, you'd get straight up damage, and you'd get attack speed, but there's no like slows or stuns or anything like that, or roots, which can be useful in triggering some of their abilities or building some of their stacks. Specifically, I think it's Nova building her Aerois stacks. Also from Foolish Genius, what is your opinion on a whole affiliation synergy living on one character like Merylwyn Alindra? I'm not a fan. Yeah. I mean, if canonically that's kind of how their group works, I'm not gonna get mad at them making something that maybe isn't the best game wise to stay canonical, like true to characters. But game wise, no, not a huge fan. I don't like that potentially huge bonuses go away if you don't have one like key champion. Uh, yeah, but that's, I mean, it still works. I mean, they still have a great, I think on their own, they still do a good job. It's just once that meat grinder goes off, everything gets better. Which is not something I ever thought I'd say. What is Oh, Freeman. Is Egbert viable for a gold find formation regarding since he's in Freely slot? I mean, if you don't have Freely, you could use Egbert. Egbert does have a large gold find amount available. However, Freely, because Freely has gold find debuff stacks that apply to enemies, and then if you get multiple stacks, they apply multiplicatively. His numbers get real big real fast. And somebody with just a regular kind of gold find feature can't really compete. I know it may not look like Freely's better because you don't see that anywhere. There isn't anywhere visible that like your gold find percent doesn't change with Freely because it's something that's applied to enemies. But where you can tell the difference is when you've set things up correctly and Freely's in the proper specialization, the amount of gold that you're getting off of enemies will be much larger than off just some one person's pure gold find number. So I mean, he's usable if you don't have Freely yet, but once you have Freely for Azaka farming, you want Freely. Bifido, will this show get onto YouTube, Twitch later for viewing? Yeah. Like right now, literally right now, if you didn't want to listen to me answer questions and you missed the start of the show, or you're willing to wait and listen to them not live, you could pull up the VOD right now on Twitch and start it from the beginning. But yeah, the Twitch VOD will be around, and then it'll get uploaded to YouTube most likely next week. I think Mars has been pretty on top of it. Mars does all of that now. Foolish Genius, it seems like Cine is giving more flat gold find items versus gold ability items, which is technically better, and why is this trend happening? We have seen that in a couple champions, but it is because, in my opinion, if you look at that ability, there are features that apply to it multiplicatively, like in stacking multiplicatively, and I think they were worried. Again, this is just my opinion. I think that they were worried that if they gave an item bonus to an ability that could multiply that way, that it would break gold find gain. So they just give you straight gold find bonuses instead. They still wanted to give a gold find item. So they gave just a straight bonus to gold find. And the same with the feats. It's just straight gold find feats instead of buffing the ability. So which would be better? I mean, the broken one, the mathematically broken one would be better, but then that champion would be broken when it comes to gold. And we already have a couple of those. I will stand by my statement that Krull and Freely are both broken, and mathematically speaking, because of that multiplicative way that they stack. It just makes them the go-to for those things, and I would rather people have a better choice, but I don't know that that's ever going to change at this point. But yeah, anytime you get stacks multiplying against other stacks, that's always going to be the strongest. That's why I go, hey, it applies multiplicatively, like stack multiplicative, and I'm like, that's the good way, because that's the way that gives you the biggest numbers. But they're really trying to protect against, I think lately, really trying to do a better job of protecting against introducing a champion that's mathematically broken in some way, because it is much more acceptable for them to, I mean, I may not think it, but it is much more acceptable for them to introduce a champion that's just good and not great and then buff it later, than to introduce one that's amazing because it's somewhat mathematically broken and then have to nerf it, right? Ultimately, that goes better with the community. Even though people like to complain, wow, they introduced this champion and it's just, It's like, well, good. They didn't introduce a broken champion. That's fantastic. Now they can buff it. You know. So yeah. I'm okay with this, but I play this in the long term, and I try to look at how communities are going to react as a whole over time, as opposed to just, you know. There's an argument for if you introduce a broken champion and then nerf it. A lot of people like to go bait and switch, and yeah, I get that argument, but at the same time, it's like, if it wasn't on purpose, you know. So they're trying to be more mindful of that, which is good. Imisakia, does that mean the atonement buff on Egbert can go higher than 9? No. Since they will in effect count twice. No. It only counts. Ooh, actually, hold on. No. It shouldn't? Hold on, we can check this real quick. Does this work? I'm at -5 because I only have 5 other champions in the formation. Let me move. It should just trigger. It should just look at a champion and then trigger a number. Oh, wrong champion. Yeah, no, it doesn't. It's just looking to see if it qualifies for one or the other. Like, it's like, am I getting a negative point here or not? Someone's saying Prudence counts twice. I'm not seeing her count twice right now. Unless I lost. Hold on. Once again, because I moved it away, did I get... No, I'm still at -5. Yeah, I'm still at -5. I'm not seeing any double. Let's get everybody around Corazon just in case. I'm still at -5. That's not the... Yeah, because we're looking at Atone for the Past, so we're looking at lawful chaotic. We're not looking at... Yeah, so here's the thing. Corazon is neutral on good and evil, not lawful chaotic. So it's not going to ever change the number of stacks that Egbert has. Yeah, I got people asked about the wrong thing, and because they're confused. So let me go over this again, folks. There are 2 axes in Dungeons and Dragons. There's a lawful, neutral, chaotic, which is just referred to as lawful chaotic, and there's good, neutral, evil over here, which is just usually referred to as good and evil. Don't, Strider, no, we don't insult people here. People play this game that don't play D&D, and that's totally fine. So when we're talking about Egbert's stacks, we're talking about this side, the left side, the lawful and chaotic. When we're talking about Prudence is chaotic, and nothing's going to change that. We're talking about Corazon changing people to neutral. It's on the right side. It's the good and evil side. So again, Atone for the Past, lawful versus chaotic. Corazon, good and evil. Good and evil. Okay, so yeah, there's not gonna be a double. There's not gonna be a double. And even if you could change the lawful or chaotic side, it is my understanding that he's really just looking to see if a champion is going to give him a positive or a negative. And you wouldn't get 2. Right? But I don't know, because I don't think we even have that kind of functionality in the game. Yeah. Next question. Where is it? I thought I had another. Okay. Foolish Genius 89. Do enemies exploding with Baloth or Krull count as prudence kills for stacks? I do not know. There's only one way to find that out. That's either to have it open, Prudence's thing open when you're killing with those explosion effects, and see if that's the trigger or not. And to see if it goes down or not. Or there used to be a. Is it? No. Sorry, I must have hit a button that muted things. I don't know why. I don't know what I hit that muted things. That makes no sense to me. OBS, please. OBS, please. That's what captions for. If I'm ever muted, folks, there's captions at the bottom of the screen. Read them. But thank you for letting me know it's muted, because there's no reason why I should have been. Yeah, I'm not sure. I tend to run, honestly, when I have run Prudence in the past, I have run Prudence with Krull and Baloth, specifically because it creates an AoE that allows for wave clear. But I haven't looked to see if I'm getting credit for those kills or not. So this one is the one we did. That's why I got confused. And Foolish Genius, do you feel like Egbert's gold suffers from freely like Tatiana suffered from? Egbert exists separate from free. Egbert's gold find is great. Egbert doesn't suffer from any other champion having abilities. Egbert's usage in an Azaka farming formation, if you have freely, he's not going to get used there. But that doesn't make Egbert doesn't suffer because of that. His usage numbers will in that situation will suffer because of that, but Egbert as a champion doesn't suffer because of that. Egbert provides a great straight up flat bonus to killing things that doesn't rely on any kind of RNG. It applies from the moment you start killing things in the game. So you put freely is useless until you're not killing things instantly. Because he provides nothing in terms of gold find until you're able to hit things with lots of champions and stack up stacks and then kill them. So there's different functionalities to things that are based off stacking as opposed to flat bonuses. And Egbert serves a flat bonus functionality and helps to provide just a solid gold find buff for regular play. I think at some point we may get to the point where Azaka farming is an option if you want to get a bit more gold, but I think we're seeing a lot more straight up gold find with higher totals so that you can potentially just push real deep with lots of gold find, and then you don't have to necessarily bother with Azaka farming anymore. I think they're getting to the point where they're making Azaka farming not irrelevant, but just a minor choice instead of what it is right now, which is a major choice. And yeah, but vastly different from Tatiana and Human, because Tatiana's effect, I want to be very clear to everybody. Where are they at? Tatiana is labeled as a speed champion, but is not a speed champion. To be very clear. Is not a speed champion. Has an effect where if you wait for 15 seconds on a level, she will run off and take more seconds to then pull back a bunch of enemies that you can then kill. That is not a speed effect. If I have to wait 15 seconds for it to kick in, and then it takes another 3 to 5 seconds to happen, it's not a speed effect. A speed effect lets me finish a level faster. And while there's an argument there that maybe that does, not really. Because I can finish levels in 2 to 3 seconds. So Tatiana as a speed champion is not necessarily a speed champion. But she is great if you need just a lot more enemies for something. Like, as we talked about, in an effect, it kind of affects other bonuses. We've talked about today about multiple champions that give you damage bonuses based off the number of things on the screen. So if you would have had it, so in this case, it is almost a later speed effect, a late game speed effect. If you need more enemies on the screen to trigger those bonuses, or to trigger any kind of effect that you're looking for based off lots of enemies, she helps. You want to go farm kills for someone like Toragar or Zorbu, or stacks for Dahani, and you don't have a variant that creates lots of enemies, Tatiana's good for that. So she has a place, but it isn't in a like a speed gem farming formation. That would be Human's role, right? So yeah, different functionality. I mean, I can kind of see why they say speed, but it's not really a speed champion. Not in the same way. What else we got? Well, Shane, can you elaborate on how Prudence double dips on good champs with Corazon's neutral? Hold on. I mean, I think you're just talking about the fact that she's getting Corazon's buff. I don't really call that double dipping. I mean, look, because the thing is you're going to have. Oh, she can increase. Yeah, I mean, she gets this. So yeah, I mean, this is just, to me, this is part of the synergy of having an Oxventure's group. Because she likes good aligned champions that's going to give her damage bonuses, right? Because she's happier when she's killing things in front of good people. But her stacks max on neutral or evil. So with Corazon, if he's adding neutral to good people, you get the best of both worlds. To me, that's kind of part of their synergy effect. So it's not all on Merowyn. They have ways to help each other. It's just they're not necessarily super obvious, but it's all kind of there. It's all there and available for you. But you just need to make sure your formation building is kind of on point, because they have a lot of effects that are based off where they're placed to maximize them, and some of them are going to compete against each other, and you have to figure out which is going to give you the biggest bonus. But yeah, to me, you just have to understand that if whoever is adjacent to Corazon is going to be considered neutral, or if you switch whoever's not adjacent with that specialization. And then that's going to trigger effects for multiple people in here to make those bonuses. Because multiple people in this group like things that are based off specific alignments. I'm going to go back and answer general stuff so we can get through some of these too. Lesh, why is Turiel in my formation doing best out front? Because he's an anti-tank. And he is not a tank. Oh, no, yeah, he is. But he's an anti-tank. He's listed as a support. But if you read his abilities, his functionality is to be in the tank line. And the further back the DPS is, the better. But ultimately, he is like the Jedi of Idle Champions. So orders demand when an enemy attempts to attack Turiel, they instead attack a different valid target if one is available. This is why he goes in the tank line, but only, and why I call him an anti-tank. He isn't a tank because he doesn't have health and he can't take a beating. But if you put him in a multi-tank front line, things come towards him and he goes, no, I'm not the enemy you're looking for, and directs them over to the other tank. And then he provides bonuses to you based off doing that. You do not really want to use Turiel anywhere other than the tank line, other than the front column, because you want that redirect, because the redirect increases effects, and this is all explained in here. The more things he redirects, the bigger the bonuses are. So you put Turiel in a multi-tank frontline. You just wouldn't put Turiel in this tank frontline, because no health, no tanking, no whatever. And if you put him back here, no ramping bonuses, none of the major effects. So Turiel wants to be in that multi-tank frontline. And honestly, Turiel wants to tank for you in Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus because he gets bonuses against fiends, and that's a 3 tank front line. So you can put Turiel and then 2 actual tanks, and it's just best of both worlds. Stalker, I see your stuff. You're talking about running the game on Windows 7 on Epic. You have to reach out to support for the game, or honestly, support for Epic. I think either you or somebody else has mentioned issues with Windows 7 and Epic before. I think it's because you're using Windows 7 and Epic doesn't want to work with Windows 7. So you either have to reach, I mean, you can reach out to Idle Champions, but I don't think they're going to be able to fix anything that's a problem between your operating system and Epic. You're probably going to have to reach out to Epic support. Yeah, but I'm not a support. I do not directly work for Codename Entertainment. I am a contractor. I do these streams. So yeah. Twitch Five Cats. Both Stokey and Rack have key points. Are they the same? No. Yes. No. Does one count for the other's bonuses? No. So Stokey puts key points, marks of key, on like Stokey marks enemies, and then based off those marks, things happen. Whereas Narak gives himself key points. They're both monks, so they're using the key point mechanic of monks, but they're using them in different ways. So no, because Stokey's features are about other things having key points, and Narak's is about himself having key points. Kinde, what is the little play icon in champion portraits? Play? Are we talking about the swippy swappy buttons? Or this play icon? Okay. This will open a new tab in your browser to play the spotlight video. So if they have a champion spotlight video, they have put a link. They have put a link to it in the game, so you can go here. A quick rundown from Lauren on how this champion works. I forgot you were talking about the internal portrait in the UI. Foolish Genius, can we anticipate Gaarawarr's Guide to Nerds now that the general public can get them? Oh, is that going to be a thing that happens? Hold on. I'll write it down as something. I'll have to write it down later. I will make a note that maybe that's a thing that happens. But nerds are... I mean, I've got a guide to nerds. I don't know if they need a video guide, but we'll see. And honestly, it wouldn't happen until after the end of the month when... I mean, people can opt into the new shop experience. They can shopped in. But it isn't for everybody until the 31st, I believe. Branwin Kinko, do you feel Azaka farming is intentional or a mistake that limits their ability to make better gold find champions? Neither one. It definitely wasn't intentional. It is what in the game industry is referred to as emergent gameplay. However, it isn't a bug, so it's not an exploit. Exploits are about bugs. Generally speaking, it was emergent gameplay, and it is emergent gameplay. You can then decide as developers when you find out about it, when the community finds it, if this is good for the game, neutral for the game, or bad for the game. And they have decided it's either good or neutral, and they don't really care because of the intense ability required, and it's just gold. You know, the gold doesn't... Early on, favor is a big thing, but gold... but eventually then it falls off, and it isn't as big a deal anymore. So at this point, I feel like they're like, not a big deal. Now, if it had been a straight damage bonus, that probably would have gotten changed right away, right? Which we've seen with other champions, like Barrowin. She had a manipulative stacking mechanic early on with her hammers that broke the game functionally and made any other champion pointless. But Azaka, people play the game without Azaka farming. You can do that just fine. But is this chaotic or lawful for the game? It's neutral. It's neutral. They've changed things even after a while. If they finally decide, well, no, this is bad, and we're seeing it be worse, then they'll change it. But I think what we're seeing is a trending towards them just providing larger gold find bonuses on things, so that you don't feel like you have to Azaka farm, and that's basically going to, in the future, at some point, Azaka farming will be roughly irrelevant, probably. Manacle, how did you come up on the name Gaarawarr? Do you have some backstory on it? It's a Wookiee name. Wookiee. I like the Wookiees and the dwarves. It's a Wookiee. It's Sherwook. It's a Sherwook name, and it came from the Sherwook name generator in Star Wars Galaxies, which was the first time I was ever a Gaarawarr. But now it's also Gaarawarr Grudgekeeper is my dwarf name. Question, colon. What fun is planned on your channel later today? Hey, folks, we're at the end of the stream. In about an hour-ish, you can come over to my channel, twitch.tv/Gaarawarr, spelled like it sounds, for Final Fantasy Saturday. We are playing through the Final Fantasy Pixel Remasters. We've finished 1 through 3. We're on 4. Normally, as I've been playing through these, you have the ability to change the characters' names, usually, like at the start of the game. In this game, because of the way it's functioning, you're changing them at an NPC regularly. And normally, I name all the characters after people from chat. However, when I went to name our protagonist in Final Fantasy IV, the first thing I saw in chat was hashtag Jeremy Clawford. So our protagonist this run is Jeremy Clawford, folks. If you are a fan of Jeremy Clawford, come hang out with us. And if you just want to hang out for Final Fantasy fun, come hang out with us. I crack myself up every time I have to read the dialogue, and it's like, oh, thank you, Jeremy Clawford. I'm just like, oh God, what have we done? If you don't know that joke, folks, go watch the one shot that Trevor DM'd, the Spelljammer one shot. The name escapes me at the moment. With Mars dressed as Krydle and lots of other fun stuff. That's where that comes from. So thanks for hanging out, folks. That's everything on the way out. The next song is Neverwinter Nights. If I don't see you in my Twitch chat soon, have a great weekend. Bye, everybody.
Soaked by winter rains, I stumbled to the gate, seeking out my fortune. I was running from my fate, walking after sunset, searching for the love I haven't met. The days that fade away, when my heart yearns to stay. It never win a night, never winter dreams, always shining bright. Never what it seems. He stood there before me as I wandered down the street among a bed of flowers in the garden that he keeps. He smiled as I walked up. My heart had skipped a beat, like a moth to a flame. I was drawn never win a night. Never winter dreams, always shining bright.